In this presentation, we look at how a very specific animal health decision, the CFIA-ordered Ostrich Cull in British Columbia, has been transformed into a political symbol. What began as a response to highly pathogenic avian influenza has been recast as a story about government power, personal freedom, and institutional trust. We will unpack what actually happened, how the narrative was amplified and reframed, and what this case tells us about the current state of democracy, rhetoric, and stability in Canada. Yes, it is true that the Ostrich Farm Cull story is being used and amplified with political motives. The underlying decision is grounded in legitimate biosecurity and trade concerns, but the narrative around it has been deliberately twisted to serve broader ideological agendas. Political actors, influencers, and aligned media have seized on the case to fuel distrust in public institutions, stoke anti-science sentiment, and frame a technical regulatory action as an example of government tyranny. The core story begins with the Universal Ostrich Farm in Edgewood, British Columbia, where the Canadian Food Inspection Agency detected highly pathogenic avian influenza. Under Canada's animal health laws and international trade commitments, the CFIA ordered a complete depopulation of the flock to protect other farms, the wider poultry sector, and Canada's export access. The owners challenged the decision through the courts, but after multiple levels of review, the Supreme Court declined to hear a final appeal. In other words, the cull was not a random or arbitrary act. It followed established legal and scientific procedures designed to manage serious disease risk. Political and rhetorical manipulation occurs in the way the story is framed and amplified, not in the basic facts of the disease. High-profile figures such as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Mehmet Oz intervened publicly, repositioning the case as a morality tale about government overreach rather than a biosecurity response. Their involvement attracted US and Canadian audiences already mistrustful of public health authorities after the pandemic. Social media narratives then recast the ostriches as victims of a heavy-handed state, turning a specific farm case into a symbol for grievances about vaccines, regulation, and elite control. In this way, the Ostrich Cull was plugged into existing culture war and populist storylines. This matters because it shows how easily technical decisions can become raw material for polarizing rhetoric. When a disease control measure is reframed as an attack on freedom, trust in regulators, courts, and scientific expertise is eroded. That erosion is not just an abstract concern, it affects how Canadians respond to future outbreaks, how they view rule of law, and how they interpret other necessary public interest interventions. The Ostrich case demonstrates how a single file can be weaponized to deepen cynicism, inflame anger, and weaken the shared factual basis that democratic debate depends on. There are important nuances. Recognizing political manipulation does not mean dismissing every criticism of the process or ignoring the distress of the farm owners and their supporters. People can reasonably ask questions about transparency, compensation, animal welfare, and how decisions are communicated. The key point is that these legitimate concerns have been overshadowed by actors who exploit the case to advance broader anti-government and anti-science narratives. The biosecurity rationale remains valid, even as the public story around it has been distorted. In conclusion, the Ostrich Farm Cull is both a real biosecurity event and a potent political narrative. On one level, it is about controlling avian influenza and protecting Canadian agriculture and trade. On another level, it has been turned into a symbol of alleged tyranny and incompetence, used to rally anger and mistrust. Understanding that dual reality helps us see how modern political communication can turn a single regulatory file into a wedge issue, and why strengthening media literacy and institutional transparency is vital for Canada's democratic resilience. This analysis is grounded in 4 key sources that together provide the factual record and the context for understanding how the story has been politicized. The Policy Options article by Langston, Harmon, and Graham examines how the Ostrich Farm case has become a vehicle for polarizing politics and lingering pandemic-era distrust, explaining how it is being used rhetorically to undermine confidence in science and regulation. Reporting by Mukhtar for CBS News supplies the legal and procedural timeline, including the role of RFK Jr. and Mehmet Oz, and confirms how the courts treated the CFIA decision. Coverage in The Guardian documents how supporters of the farm framed the depopulation order as an emblem of bureaucratic overreach, helping us see how the story was recast into a broader anti-government narrative. Finally, the Associated Press report provides a neutral account of the completion of the cull and the CFIA's actions, anchoring the discussion in verified facts about what actually happened on the ground. Taken together, these sources allow us to separate the evidence-based biosecurity story from the politically engineered narrative built on top of it. Viewers can pause here to view the full citations and follow links to the source documentation. For more fact-based content about Canadian politics, democratic health, economic trends, and rhetorical analysis, the Facts for Canadians platforms offer ongoing resources and educational material. These outlets aim to strengthen public understanding, improve media literacy, and support evidence-based democratic engagement.